What are you hearing on the expansion front right now? Are there any active talks about continuing to expand at this point, or has that kind of died down with the advent of the season?
Yeah, it seems like the focus now is more about just sort of moving forward with, how do you, integrate these new members into your conference? Will there be more conversations about, future members, as you get closer to that new TV deal? I could see that. Yeah, I wouldn't rule it out. But right now, it seems like the focus on the Big 12 side is just working through the process here of, okay, what do we, how do we know when BYU's coming in. Obviously, you're still kind of waiting on some clarity from the AAC on when you can bring in the other three new members. From what I've been told, there's, you're kind of in that phase now where you're having some meetings with all these members. You have some meetings with the membership of the future Big 12 and not OU in Texas. Like, there's stuff that you got to save till after they're out of the AAC. I think that it's a little bit, there's a lot of paperwork and all that stuff that has to get worked out before you bring in new members into your conference. So it seems like that's the focus right now. Certainly the actions of the AAC have been interesting to watch, and them rating the Conference USA certainly is worth keeping an eye on here. But I haven't gotten the sense right now that the Big 12 is looking to add more.
Do you get the feeling, I know it's been reported by a lot of people, Boise and Memphis would be at the top of the list. Do you have a perception for that as to whether or not that is pretty accurate, that that's where the Big 12 would be looking if they were to go that route?
Oh, I don't know. It's hard to say right now. I think that again, if you're saving that conversation for as you get closer to the next TV deal, then I think you also want input from your partners on that stuff a little bit more, and what are moves that the Big 12 could make that would add value in a more literal sense as you're actually getting closer to that next TV contract, and sort of what makes sense for everybody. But yeah, I mean, you talk about like who missed the cut. Those would be two schools that I think we're in the conversations for sure. And I'm sure that, like, for example, Boise's not coming to the AAC. Like, I'm sure that for some of these schools that may be interested in the Big 12, it puts them in kind of a weird spot about, well, what moves are we supposed to make between now and then if that is still kind of the desired outcome.
Well, the last question I would have for you, Max, greatly appreciate the time as always. It seems like everything with Texas and Oklahoma has been really, really tight-lipped here. It would make sense, obviously, for 2023 to be the date, if not sooner, which I know a lot of people in SEC country would tell you that could still happen. What is the latest in what you're hearing in terms of Texas and Oklahoma's impending departure?
Yeah, I mean, it's still at this time, no one has kind of given me a strong sense that this would happen next year. I think that probably setting up for 2023 to be the more likely outcome there. The Big 12 is really not motivated at all to be helpful about this. I think that they know that their rights and their bylaws and their grant of rights are pretty ironclad, and so as much as it's easy to say, oh well, they owe $80 million to get out. No, they owe a lot more than that, because the Big 12 is going to hold on to their grant of rights through 2025, and so Texas and Oklahoma need to get those back in any sort of divorce here, and so that is worth a lot more than $80 million. So that grant of rights, and so Big 12 really can sit back and say, that they're not inclined to negotiate on this. We'll see if Texas and Oklahoma want to give notice at the end of this year to pursue a 2023 entry into the SEC. How would those talks go? I don't know. I imagine you probably need ESPN to get involved here from a financial standpoint to make that right for Texas and Oklahoma. But right now, I think they're still in this conference next year, and if they want to join the SEC in 23, probably start. Time for them to start getting a plan together.
Max, greatly appreciate the time as always. Love your work. We'll keep up with it and talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks so much.